What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's good out there, America? What y'all doing out there? What's popping? It's your boy, Rod and Don are in the building. Don and Rod. It's Brooklyn Beards and Ball. That's how we do. It's what we're about. We ready to talk some stuff today. How you feeling today, D? You good, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How's everything with you?
That's what's up, fam. I'm doing well, man. Shout out to everybody out there. Thank y'all for joining us today. Listen, we need you to do a couple things for us, all right? We need y'all to like, we need you to subscribe, and we need you to hit that notification button, all right? And hit the part that says all right? So every time something's popping on this channel, you get it on your horn. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. So we need you to like, subscribe. We need you to comment. We need you to, give us some feedback out there. Let us know what's on your heart, what's your mind. And as we talk sports and we talk culture, that's what we do here. And we need you to hit that subscribe button, all right? So this way you can stay up on what we're doing here, Brooklyn Bears and Ball. It's a pleasure to rocking with you, Big D. What's on deck, man? What we talking about?
Oh, man, we got so much to talk about. But I want to pose a question to the audience.
Yes, sir.
Everybody is familiar by now with the Kyrie Irving situation. And so my question to the audience is, are they going too far with this? Do we think that Kyrie is ever going to come back to the NBA? Do you think that the Nets, by creating this list of 6 things that he has to satisfy in order to get back into the league or get back to join in his team, do you think that those are reasonable requests? Please leave a comment. We're going to get into it right after this.
Yes, sir.
Well, we got almost the completion of week 9. Man, there was some really interesting games, a lot of surprising upsets.
Yep.
2 games that we highlighted was, I will say this, our picks, we're 2-0 with our picks.
Yep,
that was
we
pretty
did it.
nice.
That's what's up, man.
The safe route, and you picked what I picked, so cool. Good for you. That was pretty smart on your part.
Hey, but, listen, we know our sports.
Yeah, exactly. You did the safe thing. But let's talk about the Bucs and the Rams, because as we said, it was a pivotal game for both teams, and it was going to really show what these teams were made of.
Right.
The Rams, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. Not that I'm mad, because I'm a Niners fan, so good for them to look so bad. But I think overall, what can you say about the offense? They have no identity. It's Cooper Kupp only, and there's some other players on the team. Matthew Stafford has tunnel vision, and his whole offense, his whole existence, his whole reason from coming to LA is to pass the ball to Cooper Kupp. I think from a standpoint, it's not sustainable. Clearly, you can't play or expect to win that way, and their record shows how their offensive output, their performance offensively shows that although he is a dynamic player, you can't be one-dimensional in this league. The league where you have mobile quarterbacks, where you have a dynamic running games, offensive schemes, defensive schemes. You can't just rely on one player to hold down your entire team, offensively and defensively, because, sustaining drives is all predicated on one player. That's impossible to sustain. What do you say?
Yo, that's what I say too, D. You know what it reminds me of? Cooper Kupp is it's like Michael Jackson in the Jackson 5, right? Nobody cares about Tito. Nobody cared about Jackie Jackson. And they had their fans, but, right, what was the Jackson 5 without Michael? What's, Destiny's Child without Beyonce, right? I mean, that's really what the Rams offense. It's Cooper Kupp and friends. It's new edition with, just Ralph Tresvant, right? There is no identity other than the star man, and he's the front show. He's the Michael Jackson of the offense. Right. They go as he goes. And so if Michael doesn't sing, nobody wants to see Tito and Jermaine and Randy at a concert without Michael. Who wants to see the Rams without Cooper Kupp? And at least that's how I feel with Matthew Stafford. He doesn't feel like there's no need to throw to anybody else but Cooper Kupp. And clearly the plays are designed as such, right? And clearly that's the play calls that are coming in from the sideline with McVay. It's all about Michael Jackson and not the rest of the brothers. And so there's no one else there to throw to. They have no running game, as we know. And that's the thing, and you know what's alarming about this whole thing? And they tried to run the ball to kill clock towards the end of that game. They technically gave that game away for all intents and purposes. You're running the ball, which you have no running game whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you what's more alarming to me, D, than anything else. It's what Ramsey said after the game. He said there was no reason for our defense to have to go back on the field. He said there was no reason for us to even have to make another stop. We just made a stop. So he called his offense out. He called out everybody. And he was basically saying what everybody else was thinking. Again, that this offense is putrid, it's rancid, it's deplorable, it's underperforming, there's nothing more you can say about how bad this offense and how the mighty has fallen, which you said a couple of weeks ago. We never thought we would see the Rams look this bad offensively. In fact, that was really their bread and butter, though they've always had a pretty good defense. But at the end of the day, this is sad to see. And Ramsey called his teammates out. So, that to me was very alarming. And it was definitely a bad day for the Rams. But you got to give a lot to the Bucs, man. What say you about Tom Brady and how they came back to win this game, though Brady played pretty bad in my estimation?
I think it's more about, it's not so much what the Bucs did, it's what the Rams didn't do. I mean,
I agree.
There was only one way that they could win. So with such little time and no timeouts, why would you allow them to have the sidelines? You force them towards the middle of the field. Right. So that you tackle them, you can kind of delay and lean on them a little more, delay them getting up. They got to try to hand the ball to the ref to get the play started, to clock it, and all of that would eat away at the clock and almost secure your victory. But instead, they let big chunk plays happen. Yep. They started playing some type of stupid prevent D that allowed them to get big chunk yards down the field. Yep. And I mean, it is still Tom Brady, okay? So he knows how to, even with, players obviously not being his key players, if you give any quarterback in the NFL that type of leadway and time and space they weren't even really pressing him anymore to get the ball out of his hands. He could sit and kind of pick them apart. So I think it was so much more than what Brady did, although he did what he needed to do to get the W and to secure the W. It was more so the fact that the Rams just gave the game up. They served it to him on a silver platter, and he did eat. So no doubt. I think it was, it was terrible play calling defensively. I don't know what was the logic in that, but as a result, they caught the L.
Yo, let me tell you this, man. You make a good point, because defensively, I had no idea schematically what they were doing. To give the Buccaneers the sidelines like they did, it just didn't make any sense to me. But I don't know if you noticed this. Did you notice the hug that Brady gave Brian Leftwich at the end of that game on the sideline? I mean, he closed his eyes. It was like he hugged somebody like he hadn't seen in years. And it was just like it was just all this emotion. You would think the guy just won his 8th Super Bowl the way he was hugging him. It just goes to show just how bad the Bucs are and the state that this team is in. Like, to just Brady at post-game interview and just like, man, this feels great. This feels good. This guy is actually like gloating and celebrating a mid-season victory. Like, when does Brady ever care about the regular season, right? I mean, we know we got to win games to get into the playoffs, right? But everything is focused on that. Now they're in a place where they're deduced to just winning a game, right? It's just goes to show you how bad, life has gotten for Tom Brady now on the field. I mean, we know about his personal issues and so forth, but this has gotten really bad, where you have a team that just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're just elated, throwing a ticker tape parade almost for the fact that they actually won a game and stopped a 4-game skid. So Listen, man, it's a lot going on in Tampa, and I think they somewhat saved their season, but this team clearly is not going anywhere. Brady knows it. I think he's going to start getting ready to get in the booth and do his thing. What they're going to pay him $300 million to do.
Yeah, I think that embrace was more about just the proverbial monkey getting off of his back, and kind of winning cures all. Back to his winning ways. And right. I think that embrace was something about more so about what he was dealing with off the field that was obviously impacting him on the field. And just to get a W, regardless how bad it looked, how much the team pretty much gave you the victory.
Right.
It's still a victory. And I think that Tom Brady and Leftwich, they've been dealing with a lot. They're trying to the coaching staff is doing the best they can to work with maybe the decline of Brady or the distraction of Brady, because he was a distraction more than anything else during training camp. He leaves for 11 days. Well, now we know why he left.
Right.
Also going to Robert Kraft's wedding.
Yep.
Belichick didn't go to his wedding. And last I checked, he's still employed by Robert Kraft. We can be friends, but
right.
There are several players that they miss their siblings, their kids, all kind of events they're missing because they have pinpoint and laser focus while they're in the season. So for Tom Brady to do that and go to a wedding and not fly with the team, those are all the things that go against what he has done for the better part of 20 years.
Right.
So he's deviating from his normal kind of rhythm, how his mode of operante or whatever, how he actually conducts himself.
Right. Wasn't TB12-ish.
Exactly. And so it's a huge distraction. So he was a distraction to the team. So I think that hug and that embrace was more about, finally, we won't talk about me. We got a W. We're still in first place in the weakest division I've ever seen. Clearly. And they still have a chance to, obviously make the postseason.
Yep, they do. Won't go far, though, but yeah.
Somebody got to win that division. Somebody no matter how terrible they play, somebody got to win it.
Facts.
Well, let's go to the other game. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Titans.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes. It took every drop of every shortstop, sidearm, everything that he could do to win that game.
Right.
Tennessee started off right. They started running the ball. I mean, King Henry looked really good. They were actually following the game plan to take possessions away from Patrick Mahomes, which would have probably netted them a victory. But of course, when you get into the red zone, you have to score touchdowns. And they did that in the beginning. Patrick Mahomes threw 68 passes, which is crazy. I think it's 2 or 3 short of the record.
Right.
And it was an exciting game. But of course, the cream always rises to the top. So at the end of the day, they were able to figure it out and they got the W. I mean, we both predicted that they were going to win ultimately. And I thought that was a pretty good game. I thought it was a pretty good game. It was exciting enough. It was kind of nip and tuck. I think the wide receiver play for the Titans was kind of limited. Quarterback play, Malik Willis played pretty decent considering his lack of experience. But overall, I mean,
definitely
you're dealing with Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and you're dealing with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, even the best fall to them. So certainly someone that lacks experience was going to have the same fate.
No, totally agree. I think when you look at that game and you look at Malik Willis, again, he's a rookie. I actually think he's got a lot of upside. He definitely took some horrible sacks towards the end of that last drive. But, again, rookie mistakes, not understanding the need to throw the ball away and live another down, as they like to say, and often in most cases. But I thought, considering all things, you knew they were going to ride Henry, who looked outstanding in the first half. I mean, he was going for broke. Of course, they locked down, and got to give Kansas City defense a lot of credit. That's not the thing we often talk about when we talk about Kansas City. Of course, we understand how potent their offense is, and even that, again, hasn't looked stellar or polarizing as we've seen in recent years. But the truth of the matter is that, again, I think both teams played within their strengths, but then at the same time, they were able to get over the neutralization factor. And what I think that is, to me, is, again, we often talk about Mahomes, how great he is, how he improvises. They got him off kilter. They made him scramble. They made him do Mahomes-like things. But that's the thing, again, that Mahomes does so well. He got out of the pocket. He was able to get to the corners. He was able to do the things that he was able to do. And again, Kansas City just continued to find ways to win. Really good game. You got to give the Titans a lot of credit, though. I mean, they played better than I think most people expected, even with Henry getting shut down in the second half there. But again, Kansas City's just going to find a way. Mahomes is going to find a way to make it happen. His legs, he's going to move, he's going to scramble, and he's going to make great throws. And I forgive me for getting the tight end that made that play, that catch down the middle of the field there, which I thought was a powerful, play right there. Able to get up there, get the ball tapped, great concentration there. But again, that's just what Kansas City does. And again, that was Mahomes making that happen. But a lot of kudos to the front line of the Titans. Those big boys was getting at it. They was putting Mahomes under some pressure. Definitely in high pursuit there. But again, you got to give Kansas City credit. They won that game, pulled it out. And again, it's just Mahomes. The thing is, you got to wonder, how much more can Mahomes be Mahomes, right? How much more can he win games under that level of duress? At some point, I believe it's going to catch up to him. But for right now, he's getting it done. They're getting it done, and good win. But if you're Tennessee, you got to feel good. You're 5-3. You still got that division for the most part, and I think they'll be fine. But good win, and hopefully they'll get Tannehill back soon enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a tough team. It's a tough challenge. I mean, to beat them, it's quite tough. Before we go into the NBA, let's talk about tonight's game. We got the nightcap of the Week 9 NFL week. We got the Saints versus the Ravens.
Right.
And it should be an interesting game. Of course, Andy Dalton is the QB, but Alvin Kamara has been playing really well. He's kind of back to his old form. Everybody else on the Saints, everybody's big toe is hurting. They got people, turf toe is putting them out. They got all kind of hamstring issues. Everybody is, also on the Ravens side. I mean, Rashad Bateman done for the season.
Yeah, that's huge.
Huge. There's some injuries involved. Of course, the Ravens just recently beefed up their defense. This will be his debut, so it's interesting to see how important this game is, because it's important for the Saints to keep pace in their weak division, still give them a shot to actually make the postseason.
Right.
But it's also important for the Ravens to get this W, because they got to keep pace in the AFC with the likes of the Bills, the Chiefs, now the Jets, Jets, Jets. I'm wearing a little green, but not for the Jets. But they are. That was a beautiful win. Surprising upset of the Bills. And now we're talking, the quarterback of the Bills, his arm, Josh Allen, they're dealing with some kind of injury in his arm because he was trying to throw a pass, and the lineman got to him and kind of snapped back his arm kind of awkwardly. And of course, this happens as soon as I trade for him. As soon as I trade for him on my fantasy team, now his arm is ripped out of the socket. But that's how it works. It works that way. You just gotta kind of. And I text the guy. As a matter of fact, your cousin. I texted him and was like, "Perfect timing." As soon as I trade for him, now his arm is out of the socket. But it's all good. Hopefully, it's knock on wood that it's not a a lingering injury, and it's something that with a little treatment he'll be okay. But what do you think about tonight's game? Who do you like? What do you think the score will be?
Well, listen, D, I'll just say this real quick, man. That's why I don't fool with the fantasy. It's too much. It's a lot you got to concentrate on. You got to be worried about too many things and players and their performance and their output. If you just focus on your team, listen, life will be so much better for you, okay? There's a lot more peace on Sundays. I can just worry about my Dallas Cowboys. That's it. I could care less with the stats of Josh Allen and Mahomes and all these guys and the trades and things like that. Just listen, if you just root for your 49ers, right? There's only one quarterback that matters, or at least should matter for you. And that's, Jimmy G, right? I think that's all you should be worried about. But I understand, we all get sucked into the whole fantasy thing. It's a good thing, nevertheless, But regarding tonight, you got Gus Edwards is out. That's huge. And then we got also Mark Andrews is out as well. So that's those are some huge outs there for Baltimore. But I think Baltimore will prevail. But I'd say this though. The Saints are a funny team. That it's because with their offense and with the trickery and the different things that they got to do, with their RPOs and different things of that nature. And then you kind of going back and forth with the quarterbacks. And of course you got, Andy Dalton, right? And it's they're a team that you would think, I have to say, it kind of reminds me, they kind of do a lot with less, right? To some degree, more than what the Rams do. And they actually got more weapons to some degree. And especially now with Michael Thomas being out there for the Saints. But the Saints, you just don't know. 1 week they get trampled on. They look really bad, like the rest of the teams in their division. Then they'll come back and they'll surprise you with a victory. And you're like, how did they do that, right? So, it's kind of hard to say. But again, Lamar Jackson, what can you say? All right. So I got the Ravens. I'm gonna kind of go. I'm gonna do 27. I don't know. I kind of get stuck in that 27-17 kind of thing. I kind of look at that. But I'm going to go with 27-20 Ravens.
27-20 Ravens. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to listen. It's not fun. I talked to one of my boys today. He's like, "Oh man, you and Rod agree a lot," and I'm like, "Actually, we don't. We don't agree a lot.
No, we don't. We don't agree a lot. No,
so I think I'm just going to have to, just for the sake of it, because as long as you keep following what I say, it's not going to be fair. So I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm going to go with the Saints. Upset. Okay. I'm going to go with the upset. I think it's going to be plenty of Alvin Kamara. I think they're going to get Taysom Hill involved in it. He might take some direct snaps, just like they use King Henry a little bit. Right. I think they're going to have to, like you said, they do more with less. I think they're going to have to come up with some innovative ways to actually get the W, because let's face it, on paper, the Ravens are the superior team. They have a more dynamic quarterback.
Sure.
Although their run game and their running backs are kind of in flux because it's piecemeal. I'll take your leg and your arm, and they just got this. They don't have like one running back anymore.
No,
they
don't.
We'll use your lower torso, and then it's weird. But with that being said, Lamar Jackson is, he's a video game. Like you can't do anything with him.
No.
So I think if he gets on it, especially after we seen, perfect example. A mobile quarterback can single-handedly keep you in and even win a game for you. I mean, look at Chicago.
Sure.
175. He only threw for 123 yards, and I think he ran for 175.
Yeah. Yep.
So Justin Fields balled out, and he's coming into his own.
He is.
More and more. I didn't really care for him out of the draft, and I'm still happy the Niners didn't pick him up. But I do think that with the right offense, you have to, especially when you're investing in these players, you're going to have to kind of conform and kind of get your offense around their best skill set. And obviously, like I said, I used him as a reference, but Lamar Jackson certainly has that capability. He can run for 200 yards. I mean,
easily.
He's an amazing player. So I think they'll have their hands full. But of course, like you said, The Saints have a way of sticking in there, hanging in games, and making the right defensive play that can,
because the defense is pretty good. Yeah.
Change it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Saints, and the score will be 27-24. 27-24 Saints. So one of us is going to be 100% right, and one of us is going to be 100% wrong because I've had enough of you just copying my picks to be safe.
Well, it's not really. It's really just you see it as me copying your picks, but I'm really not copying your picks. What I'm really doing is I'm actually helping you to understand the depth of your pick. When I pick the team you pick, it's really my insight of knowing that this team is going to win. So I'm just adding to why your team, the team you chose, is going to win. That's why I think I'm leading, right? Aren't I leading in these predictions so far since our show began?
You are.
I don't know. I am, right. And so, but now you flipped it. You want to know, what my pick is prior to, and you'll see tonight. And then tonight will be evidence of the fact that, again, I know how to pick these teams and who will win and who will not win. So you'll see. So once you'll see that I win tonight, when the Ravens win, then, your argument that I just, follow your teams won't have much merit either. But it's only worked to this point because, again, I'm just trying to just help you understand and know that the team that you're picking is right because, I'm picking them as well. So if that makes sense, but yeah.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, let's get into the NBA. So much drama.
I don't even know if it's the NBA we're getting into as much. It's really just the Brooklyn Nets, right? They have taken over the NBA. It's Kyrie's league right now, So I forget that there's other teams that actually play every other night.
Yeah, it's it seems like each day there is new information coming out.
Yep.
As prior to this show, there was of course we know that he's suspended a minimum of 5 games. And we know that, of course, his apology, he did issue an apology. But now, I don't know if it was between the Nets organization or a combination of the commissioner, Nets organization, or anybody else that was involved in it. But now there are 6 things that he needs to actually, in order to be reinstated, he has to check these boxes and make sure that they are okay with his decision. And the things that he has to do, I personally don't think that he's going to be willing to do. I think he has to, one of them, I think he has to denounce the film and say it was a lie. I think that he has to apologize again. Mm-hmm. At this point, let's be honest. At this point, how many times, if you're sorry and you say you're sorry, why does it have to be to the satisfaction of the commissioner or to the Nets? My thinking is that they want to make it, it's kind of like they say, make him an offer he can't refuse. I think they want to get to the point where he doesn't want to come back to the Nets. I think that maybe by creating all of these hoops that he has to jump through to get back in, because, okay, if you've already paid your restitution, which is you got suspended, right?
Right.
And you are losing pay, you apologized. Why do we now have to add more things that you have to do in order to get reinstated? I think that shows you that it's not really about that. It's kind of like how when they dealt with Ime Udoka and they suspended him, but they kind of left him in limbo. I think they want him to get to the point where he quits on them, as opposed to realistically giving him a path back to the Brooklyn Nets. What do you say?
No, I agree. I think, to me, I'm gonna just be, flat out honest. I just think it's just a form of a bullying. It's a form of a system that again it's established to push the goalposts back when necessary to create a certain kind of structure that fits within the context of what's comfortable for people. And I think you said this last week again. I mean, First Amendment rights, do they really exist? Is this something now we need to look back at constitutionally and say, hey, do people have freedom of speech, right? How do we get to a place where I can agree to disagree? And I think when you look at these 6 things, right, and I'm gonna just read them out right here. They want him to apologize and condemn the film he promoted, which I think he did when he sent the Instagram post a couple days back. Now they want to take back his $500,000 that they actually rejected, but now they want that money back to donate to anti-hate causes. And then he's got to complete sensitivity training. He's got to complete anti-Semitism training. He's got to meet with the Anti-Defamation League and Jewish leaders and meet with the team owner, Joe Tsai, to demonstrate, okay, an understanding of the situation. And what does that demonstration fall under? We have no idea what those criteria are, what actually meets the satisfaction of what would be demonstrated as an understanding. Look, again, and I'm going to make this very unequivocally clear to people. I'm not anti-Semitic at all, okay? I'm not anti-Semitic. I completely repudiate and renounce anything that has to do with the Holocaust. I don't subscribe to Hitler's ideology or anybody that has exercised tyrannical practices within their leadership of any kind. But the thing here is that, but why can't he sit here and have conversation about some things, right? Again, why can't we establish a platform that says out of these things that they want him to do, the only thing that makes rational sense to me would be to meet with these Jewish leaders and to say, look, this is the things that I want to be able to understand and to know, right? And instead of just coming out and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, and what you said was anti-Semitic. Well, let's unpack that. Why can't we get into the weeds of that, into the nuts and bolts of what that really means, right? Instead of just shutting him down. And so I think it's a form of bullying. I think it looks very, very bad. I think they're really just making Kyrie look really. I think they're dehumanizing him, if I could put it that way. That's what I really feel this is. I feel like you have really squashed his ability to even have a thought. And I think we got to look at this situation on an isolated basis. We know Kyrie has said some things that people may or may not agree with or whatever have you, and he's very eccentric in his way, and he sees things very differently. But does that mean that you gotta put this man through such a thing to say, if you want to get back into this organization, this is what you need to do? We need to see these things, and we need to see you demonstrate these things, right? I mean, are we at the point now, if a European person had questions about slavery, or they was ignorant to certain things concerning the transatlantic slave trade, or during the Reformation period, or the Reconstruction era, or Jim Crow, or civil rights movement, and they want to know about these things, or maybe they said things in an ignorant way, does that really mean that they're racist? Does it mean that they don't like black people? It might just mean they're saying things out of ignorance because maybe they were taught something or exposed to something that might need some clarity. You know what I mean? So I don't think I think this is taken way out of context. I don't agree with what the Nets are doing. And you know what, D, you might be right. Maybe this is their way to say, hey, we can get him off our hands now. Let's push him into the corner. Let's ask him to do something that we don't think he's going to do, because he's already proven that he can be resistant to certain systemic structures or certain type of norms anyway. And so, you know what? Maybe this will get him off the team and we can move on without him. I think it's coward. I think it's not a good look for the Nets to do. And I personally don't agree with it. But I will say this, D, I did hear that supposedly the Nets and the ADL have now put pressure on Amazon and Jeff Bezos to take down the movie that's streaming from Hebrews to Negroes. And I think, I think that's a good thing, because, right, if you're going to call out Kyrie with everything, then, you got to also come for the platform. And that same platform that's going to also put in a bid next year to stream games for the NBA, like all the other streaming networks are in competition to do. So,
to be and also be part of an ownership team for perhaps the impending sale of the Washington Commanders.
Absolutely.
So any way you cut it, that's where it's so funny. If people were that offended, right? Let's just go back really quickly to when Dave Chappelle posted and had a stand-up that was deemed to be homophobic, right?
Right.
There was calls for, number one, to knock Dave Chappelle off of the. First of all, they didn't want his. They wanted Netflix to suspend Dave Chappelle.
Right.
Then they did not want his comedy stand-up to be broadcast.
Correct.
And there was a pushback on both ends.
Right.
Okay, if you're protesting, that is fair to do.
Correct.
You go to the person that you think is the main culprit or the person that is pushing said offense, and then you go to the source, the platform that is allowing that to cooperate. And the platform was Netflix at the time, and because of course, Netflix, Amazon, their reach is always going to be greater than said individual. So when they thought it was something that was egregious and offensive, they attacked it dual. Kind of like, okay, we're going to go after Dave Chappelle. We're going to boycott his any type of performances or shows he has. And at the same time, we're going to boycott Netflix until they take it down or suspend him or, cancel his contract. That's the way to do it if you're going to do it in all honesty and to be fair. But to just go after someone who posted a link, I don't think it's fair. And for the NBA to jump all over it, I think this is their way, honestly, to get rid of them. Unfortunately, there are players that I've always been taught, you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. They're asking players that, okay, we understand that the players that play with him are going to have to deal with that. Reporters are going to make sure they have to ask and answer the tough questions. But players that no longer play with him or don't play with him now, you don't have to respond to it. The best thing to do is stay out of it. You don't have to pile on. And I think a lot of the NBA players are piling on rather than saying, you know what, it might not have been said correctly. You could say, if you have to say something, which I don't think you have to, you can do the politically correct kind of, I'm going to answer and not answer. But I think too many of these NBA players have been piling on specifically against Kyrie Irving. And I think that is only hurting the situation because, just like it's Kyrie today, it could be one of them next time. And so that's where they have to kind of figure out, like, okay, what he did might have been offensive, but now we're getting to the point where this is too much. We're going too far with affecting his livelihood, further tarnishing his name, and now we are asking him to do way beyond the call of duty what he should do to be reinstated. He already apologized. So if that sorry wasn't good enough, I mean, what else do you want?
Well, you know what?
Go ahead.
I was going to say two things to your point. I think when you look at the athletes that are responding to this, right? And you look at somebody like LeBron James, who people are going to want to hear from, right? He's still, for all intents and purposes, the face of the league, and people are curious to what he has to say. To your point, right? There's ways to say things in the way where, hey, you know what? He could have articulated that better. He could have probably done more research, whatever the case may be, right? But most of these guys are not going to say that, right? Because, LeBron's got a Nike contract just the same, right? So these guys are bought, these guys are paid, and this is the problem that we have because it's like a web. It's like almost like an octopus. There's tentacles that are set up everywhere, and everybody's tied to somebody. There's some interest group or some type of contractual agreement that you have, and with that agreement, there comes expectation. So these guys, it's really hard for them to really be able to say or do anything that would actually say, hey, we could find a way to agree with somebody but disagree. But that's the problem that we have, just in this country in particular. And when you go back to the whole Netflix thing and all these other things, see, my thing is like this. I think there's a way to say things without being incendiary or generating hate, right? Or coming across something or saying something that could be misconstrued as violence or a group of people being attacked, right? We know that there's, from Asians to the LGBTQ community, the Black community, the Jewish community, people, it can be very sensitive, right? We saw it through the pandemic, the whole George Floyd thing. Every little thing is taken out of context because it's being construed as hate. But if we could find a way to say, hey, I can say what I need to say, and I should be okay exercising my First Amendment rights without saying, hey, look, we feel violence towards this community, or we feel something where I'm saying something that should generate some sort of attack on people or a particular group or community. And I think that's where we kind of got to find that fine line in that sense, to say, hey, I'm not saying something with hate or should be construed as hate speech. It's just that this is my opinion. This is just what I feel. And you know what? From what I understand, Netflix stood behind, Dave Chappelle. He was just talking about it not long ago, and denouncing, Comedy Central and all of this stuff that they put up against him, and actually asking people, don't watch any of the Chappelle show. Don't look at any of that stuff because, they don't want to pay me and all this other kind of stuff that's going on. I know that's a little different nuance there as far as what we're talking about with Kyrie. But I think that the problem is that we don't have that freedom of speech. The flag, when we look at Chris Jackson, Raul Maouf, I mean, excuse me for saying his name, enunciating his name incorrectly, but when he was the Colin Kaepernick of the NBA, way before Colin Kaepernick decided to take a knee, again, he was ostracized, he was blackballed, and that's what the flag is about, right? That flag represents me having a right to either stand for it or not stand for it, right? And so that's the thing that this country is still battling with, because we're still in a system where we want to control the narratives of what people say and what they do. And I think it's very unfair. And it's unfortunate for both someone like Kyrie and Kanye for that matter. So yeah, it's an unfortunate thing, bro.
Yeah, it's really sad, and it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. I hopefully
Nope.
they're able to have a meeting of the minds and kind of get this resolved quickly, because what happens in any type of conversation, if you're truly trying to get a resolution, there's something that it ultimately doesn't seem like the NBA at this point, or even Adam Silver, is looking to do. And there's a compromise. You got to have a conversation and kind of, hey, we thought that you kind of, blindly signed off on something that turned out to be anti-Semitic. You said you agreed with some of, what the movie was about.
Right.
What exactly? When he meets with those Jewish leaders, that's the discussion to have.
That's the discussion to have.
It may not seem blindly, it can seem like, oh man, he is completely 100% against a particular group of people. But Correct. It may not be the case, because as you mentioned earlier, he is saying that he's Hebrew. There are Black Hebrews.
Yes, there are.
There are.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Amari Stoudemire. Amari Stoudemire happens to be Jewish, and he's Black. He is. So, so why not have that discussion instead of, having ultimatums? Regular people, nobody likes to have an ultimatum, a line drawn in the sand that if you don't do this, this will happen. More often than not, people will be like, okay, then it's this. I'm not going to do it. And maybe that's what the Nets want. Maybe they want him to throw up his hands, give up his career, give up his livelihood, give up the opportunity for him to build wealth and generational wealth for his family. Because yes, we all agree that Kyrie Irving is a millionaire. He has money, but of course he's still in his prime. So for this to happen and them to back him into a corner and say, this, you have to, adhere to this list in order to be reinstated, I think it's excessive. Hopefully, we hope that it's resolved, that all the people involved, the offended and the people that offend, can come to the table, have that discussion, and kind of come to a resolution quickly. Also, you brought up a good point last time we met, and you were talking about the delay of the coach due to kind of politics and back office stuff, and kind of people leaning on the Nets not to make that hire. And I didn't believe it, but I'm starting to see more and more that they have, to this point, to the point in this broadcast, they have delayed. According to Wojnarowski, it was supposed to be imminent. It was supposed to be within the next 24, 48 hours. Well, clearly that was 4 days ago. So that time has come and gone. And it seems like,
unless they're doing a daylight saving time sign,
they're spring, fall, all the way back.
All the way back.
It might be something that now the Nets have cold feet because the commissioner's putting pressure on them. Maybe they want to see how this whole thing, irons out with Kyrie. If he's going to either say, yes, I'm going to adhere to these 6 steps to get back in, or no, I'm going to stand my ground and, hey, do what you will with me. That, I think, is kind of now I'm seeing is kind of holding up the next coaching hire. I thought it was all but a slam dunk, no pun intended. But I'm hoping that the commissioner, as I said before, I'm hoping that the commissioner doesn't get himself involved in it, because at that point, why are you so intimately involved in the Nets hiring? I know that, yes, you have to protect the shield and you have to protect the brand, but ultimately there are a lot of things that it seems like, he was kind of hands off with until he got the backlash. But this shouldn't be a situation where there's backlash. This team needs a head coach. This guy, he is available. We should be able to hire him. If now we're going to make every look into every hire and scrutinize and go, well, 5 years ago, this is what you said, and you thought this way, and then you got divorced, and then you did. I think we're going too far, and we're digging too deep into a person's history, whether it's a history that happened years ago or something that was pretty recent. I think that they should move on with this hiring. It's not for selfish reasons. I do think that he's going to help the organization. And I'm just hoping that the commissioner doesn't kind of kibosh it. What do you say?
Well, I mean, again, the commissioner is going to get involved because, again, as we know, and I don't need to get, political, but that, politics play a major role in our society, right? Lobbyists, special interest groups, they all have power, and they persuade those that are seated in position that control these powerful organizations. And so, when there's feedback, when there's opinions, when there's, certain kind of consumers that are out there, they're all going to play a part in the direction of something and how it's going to play out. And so that's what we're seeing here, even with Ime Udoka and the potential hiring of the Nets. For the basketball organization, for basketball fans, for Brooklyn Net fans such as yourself, this is a good hire. This is what they need. This is what the Nets have been hoping to acquire since they got these guys, particularly with Kyrie and the things and all of the trouble that most people say that he has brought to the organization. But again, it goes beyond Kyrie. I don't think the Nets have been a well-ran organization since they became the Brooklyn Nets, if you will. But the truth of the matter is, that's what's happening. He being Adam Silver, he's got to get involved. He's got to get ahead of it. He has to find a way to control the narrative. If Ime Udoka is hired by the Brooklyn Nets, how is this going to look? How are they going to spin this? How are they going to convince certain lobbyists, certain interest groups, certain people that would feel a certain way? Because again, this is a male-dominated industry, like most of the industries that we see in a capitalistic society. Here is a man, again, and I agree with you 1,000%. Me personally, I believe he should be hired. I don't think what happened to him and what he did should be held against him by way of having future opportunities for employment to coach again. He is a great coach. But again, it is the special interest groups, the lobbyists, people that are going to have a say-so. They got to get ahead of that. How can they tell the public that this man, after what he's done and the violations of what he did with the Boston Celtics and their criteria and their standard, he is already back in the job. They suspended him for a year. They found it egregious enough to sit this man out for a whole year without pay, and then he can turn around and now he can coach again. Well, what happens in the situation with the young lady? What was her outcome in all of this, right? Or what?
I don't think it was without pay, though.
When he was still being paid.
The Celtics, they said that his salary was going to be reduced tremendously, but they didn't give $1. See, and it's just like anything else.
But how do you spin it, right? How do you spin it with the women that you know you're going to have, again, and I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but again, people are going to have an opinion on this when you look at other interest groups, and they're going to say, how does this happen again? Men get a chance to always, get their due. You're going to have people that are those that support abortion, and again, men are having a way to say what they want to say. But what about the women, right? That's what
other people involved were not suspended. He was the only one that was suspended. So there goes that, where it's one-sided and skewed towards the man. He was suspended. He was put out for public consumption, for people to make their determination. And poor Nia Long, and all his whole family dynamic was thrown out there. I don't know if the individual that he had a consensual relationship with, whether she was married or not, but we won't know that, and we don't know that. But what we do know is we got TMZ messing with Nia Long, and she's doing shopping with her son and asking her ridiculous questions. I mean, I guess that's their job to do. But the other side of it, nobody is saying anything. So yes, he is obviously the face that is actually taking all of the backlash. Okay, but you know what? With power, much is given, much is required, right? So yes, he does have to deal with that, but at the same time, it's not like that shouldn't prevent him from moving on and having another job.
No, I totally agree.
At what point does someone pay their due to society, pay their due to said job or said issue, and they're able to move on with their lives? See, the problem is that when a person makes a bad decision, it does something stupid, boneheaded. I'm not trying to soften it up. Does something stupid, morally wrong, something that is whether it's a fireable offense, if it's something that is improper as far as the structure of your job. When someone does that and it happens and it's found out, okay, you can't be like, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't always do it, but okay. The Celtics are willing to sever ties. They suspended him. Let that man move on with his life.
I totally agree with you. I'm totally in concert with everything you said. But now you put yourself in the position of Adam Silver, right? And again, this is the speculation, but so far, because there's a delay in the signing, the speculation somewhat seems to be true. He is still going to look at how do we get through the negative storm, right? It'd be one thing and two things you got to think about. How do we get through the negative backlash to say, well, we don't think Ime Udoka suffered enough? What was the sense of suspending him and reducing his salary only to let him go to teams that were going to covet him anyway? Because we know he's a good coach. It wasn't like he was going to be without a job long. So you suspend him only to just allow him to get another job without compensation, by the way. Boston doesn't even want compensation for him. And so that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, and people are going to say, again, special interest group, people that are going to feel some kind of way about there being a double standard, about hypocrisy when it comes to men that are able to, even though consensual, I agree. Rod agrees on Brooklyn Beards and Ball with UD that he should be able to coach the Nets without any reservation. But Adam Silver is going to say, how do I get through the backlash and the heavy rainstorm that's going to come our way when this happens? Not only that, but it's to the most tumultuous organization that is in the news every single day since the season started. The Brooklyn Nets. It's not like he's going to the Kings. It's not like he's going to Oklahoma City. He's going to the Brooklyn Nets. That's in a major market in New York City that has all kind of turmoil. You got Kyrie Irving. So it's going to be a mess. Listen, can you just imagine those interviews, and they have interviews after practice or post games, pre-game interviews? They're not going to talk basketball. They're not going to talk about Kevin Durant, who's actually shooting 52% from the field and averaging 32 points a game and is having a stellar season so far through the first 10 games. No one cares about Kevin Durant playing well right now. And the fact that Jacque Vaughn is 2-1 as an interim head coach, they're going to talk about Ime Udoka, the Boston Celtics, Kyrie, and anti-Semitism, and how is he going to bring all of this into play? And Adam Silver's like, we cannot have that as a headline. So this is what he's going through.
So my question is, does Kyrie, if the Nets move on from Kyrie, does that satisfy, or both of them, either or both? They can't have Ime and they can't have Kyrie. They need to. They can't move on. That's ridiculous.
And I agree with you. That would be highly unfortunate, right? And that's the thing I'm thinking that Adam Silver is going. How do we manage it? Do we let one go, bring in the other? Which is the lesser of the troublesome evil in his eyes, if you will, that he would have to deal with? Or does he let them both go, right? And I think that would be unfortunate if you're a Brooklyn Net fan that you can't get Udoka and you lose Kyrie at the same time. I think that would be a very unfortunate thing. And that, my friend, is a bad thing for business. And that's a very big eye-opener. And in fact, that's going to bring on another set of issues for many people in the league today, as far as the fans are concerned, and fans who are awakened to the issue that we see with the power structures that be. So listen, D, I agree with you, man. Listen, I totally agree with you. I would love to see Udoka on the sideline. I think he's what the Nets need. And I would like to see Kyrie play some basketball. As Stephen A. Smith say, he is box office and he is something to see. And I would like to see that happen. So, but again, politics rule, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to discuss before we wrap it up? Go ahead. I do have one thing really quick.
Go ahead.
And this bothered me a little bit. I gotta say, I went back and forth whether I was going to address it or not, and I just have to address this.
Okay.
LeBron, as you said earlier,
yes,
he is the face of the league, right?
Sure. Right.
He has when LeBron talks, everyone listens, right?
Right.
He is a polarizing figure. He has an opportunity to, with young impressionable minds, really impart some wisdom to get them to see the world a different way. Yes, right. He's very affluent. He's box office. We're right. using cliches. He's box office.
Sure.
But instead of him, unfortunately, last week we lost a one of the rappers. A member of the Migos, right?
Yes.
Takeoff. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was an opportunity since LeBron and we don't want our sports figures to shut up and dribble.
Right.
I thought that was a great opportunity for him to address senseless violence in our community.
Correct.
Senseless violence in our community.
Correct.
That should be the message.
Right.
But what does LeBron do? LeBron puts on a black suit, gets a diamond encrusted chain, and that's his way of creating a memorial for Takeoff that lost his life senselessly.
Right.
Address once again with that large platform, face of the league. That's what you should be addressing. You know what? We lost someone that was 28 years old.
Yeah.
This was a senseless act that shouldn't have taken place. But instead, your way of addressing it, but yet you got something to say about Kyrie. You got you got all to say about how offensive it is, but you're not addressing something that you had an opportunity to, because they asked you about that, but you loved that you dressed in a similar black suit and shades, and the beard was done right and all that, and you got this diamond encrusted Jesus peace chain. Why didn't you address senseless violence in the black community? That I have a major problem with. Use your platform properly. You don't have to offend anybody, and nobody should be offended if you said, hey, we got to stop killing each other over nothing. That's what you should be talking about. Not, oh yeah, I listen to his music every time I'm in the layup line. We don't need that. We don't need that, LeBron. We need you to say, use your platform to say, stop killing in our community. I find that to be a useless soundbite that he used. Yeah, we all know the family, they're dealing with a huge tragedy, but use that in a bigger picture to say, hey, we lost another. And when you think over the last 4 or 5 years, how many young black men we have lost to senseless violence, make that your platform. When they ask you questions, let that be something that goes on SportsCenter and ESPN and all of that all day long on repeat. That, hey, let's put out this message to stop killing each other. That's what he should have said.
Yo, D, you bodied that, bro. You bodied that. I can't even add anything to what you said. You know, when you sent me that text earlier, I hadn't seen what he wore. I instantly went to an article, pulled it up. I saw what he said and how he listened to them since, you know, he was with Miami and all this stuff. And, you know, as you would say, you know, in the layup line and so forth. But you know, just hearing what you said, D, yo, bro, you bodied that for real. Like, yo, your whole sentiments on that is on point, is factual. And it just goes to show that a lot of the people that we're looking up to, and again, I'm not going to disrespect LeBron as a person. We know he's a great man. You already alluded to that. Absolutely. In fact, you referenced that. He's a great man, great husband. You know, he's an upstanding citizen, does a lot for his communities. You know, he's a father. He's family man, you know, everything, you know, and I think LeBron, we know he was very instrumental in empowering players, you know, down through the years with some of his, business decisions and where he was going to take his talents to and all this stuff. And look, I think it's a good thing, right? But at the end of the day, it just goes to show that there's still a lot of work to be done, and that the people that we're looking up to in the entertainment arena and in sports and in media, they've got to be educated, bro. They're gonna need, and they need to get with some people that can enlighten them. You know, you got to get with, whether it be, the Karen Hunters, the Iron Eagle, get with some people that can give you some insight to different things that need to be said out of your mouth. And no one is looking for you to be a scholar. Nobody's looking for you to be a historian or have a level of insight to articulate everything that's going on in the black community. Because, I mean, look, at the end of the day, right, we understand that the black community is not a monolith. There's a lot of variations and differences of how we see black people and how we should progress and how we need to advance, but at the end of the day, he dropped the ball. He had the perfect opportunity to address the senseless violence that is in our community. And I'm one of the ones, man, that'll say, listen, when you have people that have the power to put good content out there, I mean, look, if we're going to come against, violence in our community? Are we willing to stop the violence in our music and in our culture and in our movies? Can someone tell, hey, 50 Cent, we like to see more movies about for life, and we want to see a little less Kanan and Tommy and Ghost and the Flannerys and Kenneth McGriff, right? We need to see some stuff and stop glorifying, a lot of this murderous culture that we see in our communities, and we want to see more things that are positive. Everybody wants to be a Kenneth McGriff or Al Capone or Frank White or the Commission or Firm, but nobody wants to be the next Malcolm, Marcus, or Martin, right? We don't have enough of that out there, and I agree with you, D. I think LeBron dropped the ball on that, and I get what he's saying. Obviously he knew him personally, and obviously, it impacted him, and I know we all express the way we grieve in different ways, and we pay homage in different ways, but I think that was a time to say, hey, you know what? I could pay homage, but let me take this a step further and talk about what is devastating in our community, what is destructive in our community, and he dropped the ball. So, bro, very well said, man. I couldn't say it any better, So, yeah, I totally agree with you.
I appreciate that, man. Listen, before we wrap up, as we predicted, there was one more prediction we made that came true. Dusty Baker, finally, Houston.
Yeah.
Houston,
I like Dusty.
No problem.
Dusty.
Listen. Ultimately, we thought Houston was going to win in 5. They won in 6. It was an interesting, ultimately
the Patriots of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, just top to bottom, they're just a dynamic team. Cheating and all.
They're cheaters. Yeah, but
they're cheaters.
Good cheaters.
That has been well documented, but they got it done. I'm happy for Dusty Baker to get a World Series ring as a manager. Good for him. Once again.
Well, I say this to you before we close, D. Isn't it messed up that the Astros can cheat and they're allowed to win another World Series, but Ime Udoka can't get another job, right? So,
Right. This is the thing. And if we want to go back, the Patriots, they cheated. And nobody is okay, but yet, after it was found out, what did they do to Reggie Bush? Now, certain players got to give back all. And other people are allowed to move on with their life and continue to win. Oh man, all's forgiven. But Reggie Bush, they took his Heisman. So
they did.
All I'm saying is be fair. Be fair about it. If there's a violation and it is a cause for this punishment, let that be across the board. That's the fairest way. Then nobody can really say that they were treated unfairly at all. Okay, if you're found to do this, this is what happens. Remember with Cam Newton, how they went after him about what's the other dude, the football player that he was a wide receiver. He was a quarterback. They made him a wide receiver for the
what else?
For Cleveland.
Oh, for Cleveland. I know who you're talking about.
But in any case, I'll tell you what happened. He had autographed some jerseys, and they jammed him up.
Yep.
So all I'm saying is just be fair. Just be fair across the board.
Be fair.
But that's you know what?
Wouldn't you rather trade that in? Wouldn't you love to see Houston give up their championship ring?
It would be fair. It would be fair.
And let Udoka coach.
Right. And you know what? Mattress Matt, you lost because they cheated. Or the bet wouldn't even count. This year, yes. And by the way, he made $75 million. It's reported that he made $75 million. They were plus $750 to win the World Series. He put $10 million down, and they won $75 million. That was the largest bet won and recorded in history. Good for him.
Good for him.
I think he's a big deal in Houston. I think when his teams win, he gives away mattresses to people.
Yeah, he does.
I'm all for that. Giving back to your community. Hey, listen, that's a beautiful thing. I'm only joking with Mattress Matt. But the year that they were proven to have cheated, he lost that bet. That was a lost bet. They should have just canceled that bet.
Facts.
But once again, we thank you for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps the page out. Please leave your comments, any questions, anything you agree with, disagree with. That's what it's about, having the discussion.
Just
talking about it, having it, dialogue. That's what we need now. What the world needs now, what we need now more is love. I'm just joking. We do need love, though. But
we do need love, though. We need love.
Ultimately, we need more conversation, more dialogue, more people willing to have the conversations, agree and disagree, but get to a point where we can have a common thread and be able to discuss stuff. Yep. Once again, we thank Infinite Audio for the music. We thank Kingdom Creative for our production. We thank you all for being here. Please join us again. We appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Great day. Bye-bye. Go.